So you need a flyer that promotes your high-tech product for cats, a logo design for your new startup, or a menu for your restaurant, and you don't want to do it yourself, then you probably have to brief a designer. Hi friends, my name is Philip and I'm a graphic designer and art director, and I have often experienced working with bad or no briefings whatsoever. And it can be quite frustrating on both sides, because the designer is working in the dark, hoping that what he's actually creating aligns with the client's expectations and the audience needs. And it often leads to more iterations than necessary, which is a waste of both resources and your money. But let's start from the beginning. A design briefing is essentially a roadmap or a guideline that actually outlines all the expectations and objectives of the design project. It's a little bit like planning a trip, but instead of visiting places, we're actually creating something new. And the design briefing is basically our map. It tells us where we want to start from, where we want to end up, and what we want to see along the way. It includes details about the project's goals, the audience we're talking to, the key message we want to communicate, and the specific requirements and constraints that need to be considered, like, for example, budget or timeline. It's a crucial tool for ensuring that everyone involved in the project, so you, the designer, and everybody else who is involved, is on the same page. It helps prevent misunderstandings and keeps the project as focused as possible and on track. A lack of briefing can lead to a lot of wasted effort and resources. Designers might create something beautiful that completely misses the mark in terms of functionality, or it doesn't communicate the right message. It can also cause frustration and confusion, and there's no clear criteria for success. But the good news is that it's not that complicated to write a good brief for a designer. Even though there can be many forms and it can follow many different templates, and every design project is obviously different, there are several essential elements that make a great brief. So let's get started. If the designer is not already familiar with your company or your brand, then you should start your design briefing with the details about your company and the project. This really helps the designer to understand your market and your industry. The background information typically includes your company size, contact information, past projects, and the current design needs. This is beneficial, especially when multiple people are actually involved in a project. Once the overview is complete, everyone has a concise summary for reference. Some questions you want to answer in this section could be: what are your unique aspects? What does your company do? Are there any brand guidelines and expectations? What themes or values are important to your brand? What is your primary need? And how can the designer meet those needs? In my case, I'm going to write a little bit about an imaginary scooter company called Sparrow, which is a pioneering company specializing in eco-friendly and innovative electric scooters. After you have established what you are all about, you're going to dive a little bit deeper into project overview. This part of the brief should clearly describe your design project. It needs to answer the what and the why of your project. For instance, I require a logo design for my online shop that also works on print materials. Or I need a logo animation that works in the header section of our website. To shape this section, consider some of the following questions. What are we building? What design problems are we trying to solve? What assets are expected at the completion of the project? I'm going to write that the scooter development is nearly finished now, and we need a logo that can be printed or installed on the scooter, and which is also going to be the face of the company. And it should also work on the website as well. So we've reviewed the project and your company. Now let's define the project goals and the objectives. In this section, we'll actually articulate the project's purpose and outline specific steps to achieve the goal. This will provide a clear plan for project execution, ensuring it's as precise as possible. Some questions you could ask here is: what will make this a successful project? What steps do we need to take in order to accomplish the objectives? What are your project goals for this design? And what metrics are going to be used to actually measure success? Now, I'm going to be more specific. I'm going to write out exactly what I need. I want to be really precise with my expectations, and therefore I'm going to include some key attributes the designer needs to convey, and also some basic design requirements. Then you need to include your target market or your audience. Knowing your audience is crucial for addressing their needs effectively. And the designer who is actually executing your project also needs to know this. If you haven't identified your ideal customer by now, maybe you want to invest some time in actually doing so and try to build a persona around them. Describe their demographics and their psychographic traits and the problems your product is actually aiming to solve for them. So in my case, I'm looking at urban dwellers, which are probably aged between 18 and 35. They are environmentally conscious, they're tech savvy probably, and basically people who are looking for an efficient, safe and enjoyable transportation way. In the next section, you're going to address the budget and the schedule. Getting the budget and the timeline straight is super important when you're actually kicking off the project. Setting these simple but really basic rules up front keeps everyone on the same page and helps to avoid any nasty surprises later on. But make sure the schedule and the budget are realistic, but still flexible enough to deal with any curveballs that might come along your way. Here are some questions you might want to ask yourself to help gather all the information you need. What are the budget constraints on this project? How flexible are they? What internal deadline does the project need to align with? Or what are the key milestones within the project? For me, since I'm not paying anybody whatsoever, I'm just typing in a number. I'm just typing in $4,000, and the timeline is going to be the first concept after 2 weeks, and then 4 weeks after the kickoff, the delivery of the final files. I mean, I'm paying $4,000 for him, so he better be quick. Finally, we're going to align on the project deliverables. Misunderstandings, even minor ones, can lead to significant issues if not promptly resolved. Consider these questions to help identify the deliverables you actually need. What do you expect to receive at the end of the project? What file format should the work be supplied in? And what sizes and resolutions are needed? As in my case, I want to have the Illustrator files and exported SVGs as well. I want to have a comprehensive summary of the design elements in form of a brand guideline, and I want to see some mock-ups which I can present directly to other stakeholders. And now you're done with the main elements of the design briefing. And this is a good starting point for every design project. From here on, you can tweak the briefing a little bit more to your liking. You could include specifics about the feedback rounds, or if you are not the final instance, for example, who is actually making the decision, who is going to approve the work in the end. If you have specific ideas in mind and you want the designer to stick closely to them, you could also provide a mood board or some examples that you actually like. All this additional information can be really valuable to the designer. But keep in mind that you should be as precise as possible with your information and keep it relevant. Do not just add more stuff just for the sake of it. The whole briefing should be more or less a springboard for the designer to become creative and develop the right idea for you. And that's how easy a design briefing can actually be written. If you have enjoyed the video and you thought the content was useful, please consider leaving a like or even subscribing. This really helps out a lot. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.